All right, good morning, everyone. This is Erin McTigue with EPA Region 10. Welcome to webinar 2 of our 3-part series, Tribal Innovations and Success Stories in Healthy Homes Outreach. We're so excited that we have you all joining us today. I think we had over 200 registered and people are joining as we speak. So we're just really excited that so many folks are able to join and hear from our speakers today. Today we have another excellent lineup of presenters. I'm going to briefly go over the agenda for our hour together. Each speaker will introduce themselves in a bit more detail once I turn it over to them for presentations. But just to give you a kind of rundown of what we're going to have today for our webinar. First, I'm going to do just a few logistics and housekeeping items. Then I'm going to do a brief recap of webinar 1 and some of the learnings and exciting lessons learned from those speakers. And then I'm going to turn it over to Gillian Middlestadt, Director of Tribal Healthy Homes Network. She's going to be sharing kind of a brief recap of social marketing principles discussed in webinar 1, as well as some key information about Tribal Healthy Homes Network and their tools and training programs that they have available. And then after Gillian speaks, I'll be turning the mic over to Sydney Jansen, Tribal Healthy Homes Network intern. She was a speaker in webinar 1, is going to build on her presentation from that webinar to share some additional learnings and some key information that she took away from the research that she's been doing about 16 different tribal healthy homes outreach programs. So we're excited to hear again from Sydney. And then Sydney is going to turn over the mic to Brooke Sanderson from Loudon Tribal Council in Galena, Alaska, who's going to share some really interesting, exciting work that she's doing on healthy homes outreach in her community. And finally, she'll be turning the baton over to Eileen Gagney, who's the Tribal Healthy Homes Network Technical Advisor in Training. And she's going to be sharing some examples and learnings from a few different tribal programs, in particular Tulalip tribal work in Washington State, as well as some other training that she's supported and work by different tribes and different communities throughout the country. So we have a great lineup here today, and we will end with some discussion time as well as a few poll questions and a raffle for an Air Matters toolkit like we did last time. So be sure to be looking for that. So just in terms of housekeeping, just like last time, please feel free to ask questions or share comments and thoughts in the chat box. We'll be monitoring that as we go. And again, we will end with some live Q&A after our presenters have a time to share their presentations today. And the webinar is being recorded and slides and materials will be made available afterward. So just a quick thank you to our presenters from webinar 1. I think we have Tiffany Lozada from the Porch Band of Creek Indians on the line today too as a participant. So Tiffany, welcome and thank you again for all the insights you shared on webinar 1. And same to you, Sydney, thank you. And we're looking forward to hearing from you again today. The webinar recording should be available later this week from webinar 1 and hopefully webinar 2. So keep an eye on your email inboxes for that. So I just wanted to kind of recap some of the key takeaways that I had from webinar 1. And certainly if you were on that webinar and had some additional comments that you wanted to share, please feel free to throw those in the chat box. We'd love to hear what you took away if you were in that webinar as well. So a few just key things to kind of get us started thinking about healthy homes outreach and innovations today. Some of the things that I heard on our first set of presenters were what's listed here. So one key thing takeaway was to set up a brainstorming session. This has been something that we've done with a number of tribes in Region 10, and I know elsewhere too, like Tiffany's work in Alabama, was to get started by setting up a session with either other tribes who have done this work or organizations who can provide support like EPA, Tribal Healthy Homes Network, organizations like ITEP. Feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to set something up. Additionally, when you're thinking about building your programs, a takeaway I heard was that thinking about people that you haven't worked with before and approaching them to see how you might have some synergies is a really good place to start. So I know Tiffany worked with family services programs. Other tribes have worked with their elders programs or their school staff, principals, or teachers. There's just a number of different creative ways you can adapt to reach your community. And another thing that we learned is that there isn't just one source of funding that can be used for indoor air quality or healthy homes outreach and intervention. So, thinking about looking at a mix of different funding sources and braiding them together seems like the most viable option for accomplishing your goals. And I'll share a resource for looking at funding in a minute here. And also, depending on the number of different hats that you wear and the different program activities that you already have going, we heard from our presenters last time that often it can be helpful to start small, either with a smaller number of tools or a smaller number of participants that you're hoping to reach with your program, and then grow from there depending upon your capacity and what you learn along the way. I have one more slide about wisdom from webinar one, and here we go. So there are a number of different outreach materials that already exist in a ton of different areas, anything from green cleaning to wood heating. There's really just a gamut of materials that you can tap into that have already been created. And so we heard from Tiffany and from Sydney that a number of tribes have already had a lot of success in adding their own photos or logos, contact information, or art to existing outreach materials to really make them personalized and of interest to the community. Tiffany also had some great examples of how she made the Healthy Homes kits that she put together really user-friendly by adding stickers on the outside of the boxes and color-coded text to make it really easy for people to see what they needed to do with the different tools that were provided and in what order. So just making it really easy and fun. And one of the things that I also thought was interesting, and we heard from a number of folks, was that green cleaning is one of the topics in the healthy homes world that really seems to be a good conversation starter. So if you're having trouble connecting with people or just want to find something kind of neutral ground, safe, if you will, to talk about, people often are really excited to talk about green cleaning and have ideas or want to share what they've done before, that kind of thing. So if you're looking for a place to start, that often is a great one. And word of mouth is powerful. I loved hearing Tiffany's story about how word really spread about the Healthy Homes Kit among elders. And rather than having to recruit all the time, sometimes people come asking because they heard from their friends or neighbors about the tools that are being provided. And I think we closed out again with a great tidbit from Tiffany that having a plan B, C, and D is often helpful in just being flexible with your programs because you don't know what the world is going to throw at you, whether it's your supplies not arriving on time for your presentation or different restrictions during the pandemic. There's just a number of different types and levels of challenges that may pop up. So being flexible and kind of expecting anything to happen seems like a really great perspective to take on. So this again is just a key recap of some resources we talked about in more detail on the first webinar. So if you're interested in these, please feel free to tune into the recording or reach out to any of us with questions. A few things that I highlighted here are the Tribal Healthy Homes Network training and technical support resources. So if you look at their website, thhnw.org, you can find a number of these resources as well as the Tribal Indoor Air Funding Directory. Please take a look at that. It's really comprehensive and updated regularly, and we'll drop a link into the chat box for that here in a bit as well if you'd like to take a look. Please also reach out to EPA staff and your regions to find out about the different outreach tools and trainings and resources that we have that can be used by your tribe or organization, and also to do some brainstorming around existing EPA grants that you might receive, such as IGAP or Clean Air Act or environmental justice grants, and how those could potentially be used for indoor air and healthy homes outreach. And again, lean on tribes and tribal organizations and the work that they've done. That was really our main goal for this set of webinars, is to put out some of the great work that tribes have been doing, especially during extra challenging times, and to find ways to innovate, adapt, and adopt those programs. ITEP and NTHC in Alaska are also excellent resources. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Gillian. Please do sign up for webinar 3 next week. We'll make sure to put that information in the chat box as well, the third registration link, as well as contact information for all of us as well. So with that,